AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The Supreme Court's 6 conservative justices handed Donald Trump a major victory in his immunity case. The AP's Sagar Meghani reports the 3 liberals ripped their decision.
Sonia Sotomayor shook her head, gritted her teeth, and strongly pronounced each word. Reading her dissent aloud from the bench, she called the decision utterly indefensible, one that effectively creates a law-free zone around the president, whom she says is now a king above the law. In a dissent joined by Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sotomayor wrote, "Ironic, isn't it? The man in charge of enforcing the laws can now just break them." Chief Justice John Roberts says the ruling does not put presidents above the law, accusing the 3 liberals of fear-mongering. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Donald Trump posted on his social media network shortly after the decision was released, "Big win for our Constitution and democracy. Proud to be an American." The AP's Joey Capoletti reports some names are being floated around by Democrats after President Biden's debate performance Thursday night, including Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Democrats who have become uneasy about Biden's re-election campaign have increasingly mentioned Whitmer as a potential alternative if Biden were to drop out. The speculation comes as Whitmer is set to release her new book, True Gretch. Whitmer has said multiple times that she has not made a decision yet on her political future, but the memoir is being looked at as something that a future presidential candidate might release.
The Israeli army ordered a mass evacuation of Palestinians from much of Gaza's second largest city, Khan Yunis. A judge in Florida released the transcripts of a 2006 grand jury investigation that looked into sex trafficking and rape allegations against wealthy and infamous financier Jeffrey Epstein. The Dow finished up 50 points. This is AP News. A dangerous and extremely powerful Hurricane Beryl made landfall on the Caribbean island of Carriacou. NBC Radio in St. Vincent and the Grenadines says it received reports of roofs being torn off churches and schools. Michael Brennan is at the National Hurricane Center.
Those are the areas that are most threatened now with both those devastating Category 4 winds as well as the storm surge of 6 to 9 feet above normal tide levels, especially near and to the north, even up towards St. Vincent, where we could see life-threatening storm surge.
University of Florida tropical weather expert Brian McNulty says,
"This is unprecedented." I know that word sometimes gets used a little freely, but this is there's never been a Category 4 hurricane in the Atlantic during June. So that's pretty amazing.
Grenada officials had to evacuate patients to a lower floor after a hospital roof was damaged. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
Good morning, Marianas. So many things we gotta discuss. Happy day, Tirawami greetings. To Rhoda, Guam, Sabin, and Tinian. For all your island news. From a beautiful place with Pacific views. It's always so much fun on Good Morning, Marianas.
Continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Good morning, Marianas. Good to see you. Good to see me. Good to see everybody today. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It is Good Morning, Marianas. It is a great Tuesday morning here in the CNMI, and it's going to be a nice one today, man. We had a great day yesterday. The weather was fantastic, made for a great night of baseball over at Tonko Palacios Field between the White Sox and the Padres. It looked like there were 2 teams on the lineup, but only one team showed up last night. To put it kindly, one team showed up last night as the Padres just dismantled the White Sox 16-0. Actually, I don't know if that's fair. I feel like the White Sox kind of did it to themselves last night. Again, trying to be objective. You know the guys that are out there. You see them all the time. You see them around town. Let's just say it was not their game. It was not their night at all. It was a real rough one out there. Some of the errors were just tough. And that's the thing that really pulls that team back. They're a really good team, but they end up making mistakes, and they take themselves out of it, and that's what happened. Their starting pitcher got pulled when they were down 5-0 before they even got their first out. I'm telling you, it was a rough one. He didn't get reassigned to the field either. He got yanked. They made all kinds of adjustments out there. Bad fielding, bad throws. Even one of the throws back to the pitcher to kind of reset, the outfielder hit the second baseman in the back on just a nice, easy throw to the pitcher. It was just not their night. Not their night. You know what made that game great, though? No kidding. Was that when we got in there, the windows were tinted by Tobat Castro, the tint man from Dan. That's right, Mr. Shady Solutions himself. He went up there for nothing. No charge, no anything. Didn't ask for a nickel. Said he wants to do it to give back to the community. And he tinted, just like these fancy windows here. We made a great deal with them. But he tinted those windows over there for nothing. And what a difference it made. How cool it was when we were in there. I don't mean cool as in like, man, that's awesome. That's cool. No, it was like our faces weren't melting off from the setting sun and the intense heat right off of those windows. So Tobat Castro, frequent caller, commenter, just a great guy doing that for the community. So hats off to you, Tobat Castro. If you need to get some tinted done, I'm telling you, call him. We're super happy with it. That's why we got this great tint job behind us. Hey, it says, morning, Brad, was your equipment at the press box much cooler when you got there? It was. Oh my, I'm telling you, when you're up there setting up and you're dealing with all that sun that's coming in, it is like a roaster in there. Now they've got the air con in there. We turn it on when we start getting ready, and then it takes a while. You know, it heats up. You know, it's been hot all day, and it takes a while for that air con to take effect. Well, it was fine when we went in there. In fact, it's a high. We didn't have to have it at such a cold setting because it was already that much cooler when we got in there. I'm telling you what a difference it makes. You can find out what a difference it'll make for your house or your business just by reaching out to Tobat and seeing what he could do for you. And it was a complete. The difference is night and day. I mean, that's literally it. That should be your slogan. At Shady Solutions, the difference is night and day. I mean, that could be it, Tobat. That could be it. Hey, good morning to you. Good morning to see you too, and great to see you guys. Really, it was great having all of that to walk into the press box yesterday. Oh my gosh, this is starting to get loose. I'm going to have to tighten that up. Anyway, we're going to get into day 2 of the coverage that we've got. We already started you off a little bit with the AP headline news. Got you that at the top of the hour because yesterday it was Sunday in the mainland, so you don't get any of those. You get one update on a Sunday from the Associated Press as opposed to what we get on a day like today where you get it every hour. So we will end up taking a break today at when the new update comes out. But we've got the second half of the debate to knock out today. I don't think it was quite as fiery as the first half was. I mean, yesterday's first half of the debate was pretty good. And it was really astounding how badly our current president did. He did not do a good job. And that's objective, right? Whether you're for the Biden administration or whether you're for candidate Trump, it doesn't matter. Just objectively speaking, it was not a good showing for the president in the first half. Things change a little bit in the second half. He really still showing his age. I mean, he's every bit the 81-year-old guy who's in office right now. And by the way, he's not like like one of those fit grandmas on Instagram 81 who's still out there doing goblet squats and all kinds of plyometric stuff. No, he just looks frail. And it's ageist. You're picking up. No. I'm not bagging on any of that stuff. Oh, it's just because you want. No. I'm just telling you. It's just objectively speaking, it was not a good look for the president yesterday, or in yesterday's coverage that we provided. But like in the debate, it was not a good look at all. And then, I mean, he was looking at the wrong person who was asking the questions. He had to. His wife Jill helped him off the stage, and it looked so bad. I mean, it was so painful to watch him like inch his way down. I mean, imagine if you've ever hurt. Have you ever hurt your back? Because I have, and I know what it was like taking all those tender steps where everyone could hurt. Right, that's the kind of steps that he was taking, like just those little short, just barely trying to get down that one little 6-inch step, that was getting down off the stage, and Only the difference is it wasn't because of the pain. It just looked like because he was totally unsure of himself, taking those old man steps. Brad, you're just ageist. Like, maybe. But when it comes to the president, when you see that kind of stuff, yeah. Now, did Trump look like that? No, he didn't. He definitely did not look frail and weak and all that other stuff. Did he say some crazy stuff? Yeah, he did. He pretty much stayed on the reservation, though. He didn't veer too far off like he has for other press engagements and stuff like that. So he wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad. In fact, I think he did probably one of his best jobs. But does that mean I agree with all this stuff? No, I absolutely did not. Did I agree with some of it? Yeah. I mean, I definitely did. But I mean, same thing with President Biden. Like, I agree with a lot of the stuff that he said, too. Like, I wish there was, can you just put these guys together and just take out the good stuff and leave the crap out of it? Because that would be so much easier for something like this. And really, it's just like a couple new candidates. And we talked about it a little bit at the end of yesterday's show, for sure. And we talked about it last night after the baseball game in the parking lot. And we were talking about some of the candidates and potentials and all that stuff, because what it really looks like is now the Democrats are like, I mean, I hate you just packaging the same words that you hear. Full on panic mode. I don't know about that. But I know that I believe that's the whole reason why they had that debate this early now, so they could show people in their party, put it on full display, hey, we've seen this, and we know that we need to make a change at that top spot for the upcoming election. So I think the rest of the country needs to see it. So they prep him up. They make him get ready for it. He takes time off to rest up for it over at Camp David. And he rolls out and just looks terrible, right? And again, you're starting a dude who's 81 years old in a debate at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. start time? Oh, my God, he's sleeping by 9 p.m. Come on. What are you doing? Yeah, this election and debate and Zuzu's pedals. I mean, he's starting to slide over to Jimmy Stewart now, right? Good morning, you beautiful old building and loan. I really was thinking, like, he's starting to, come on, it's 9 o'clock. I'm usually putting a cap on, little blinders, getting ready to sleep. What are we doing? There's a family in Scranton, where I grew up. Yeah, real blue-collar, steel town. They make paper. My friend Michael Scott, he's got a company. Like, it was just, that's going to be a little bit too late for that guy. Yeah, exactly. Both them and Amco need to just relax. Ungan, I'm telling you. Hey, good morning, Louisa. Good to see you, too. But, like, really, dude, 81-year-old guy at 9 o'clock start, that is not a good time to start. That's the time you're already home. You left at 7, or you left at 8. Let's just call it 8. Got a half an hour ride to get home, maybe change, put on your, what did they, you know, those old-timey 1930s nightgowns that men used to wear with the long hats and everything, too. Like, all right, maybe I'm going a little too off on that. But really, 9 o'clock's too late of a start. They didn't set him up for success on that one, but I think there is some plausible deniability on that, where they could say, hey, we got him prepped, we got him the rest he needed, he came ready to go, and we did 9 o'clock because it's prime time. That's just how these things work. 7:30 would have been fine. But the problem is, I guess, for the West Coast, so if you do 7:30 on the West Coast, you know, it's still 4:30. I don't know, I think, are you doing it for views only? Is that why you're doing it? I don't know. But I think that that's a good talking point for whoever's going to get back into it. Lewis, good to see you over here, too. I see you over there on the Good Morning Marianas page. And, man, I'll tell you, hey, good morning, Joe. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. And you, too. AJ, thanks for being here, man. Great to see you. Great to see you last night in baseball, too, in the comments. It was great. And, you know, again, just real touching on it. Go check out that press box and go see the job that Tobot did, tinting that side. It's just a total difference. If you go down there tonight, the Cardinals and Sandlot, should be a great game. Go check out the difference because of that tinting over there for that side of it. It's going to be, there it is. It's the difference is night and day. Tobot, that's it. The difference is night and day. Shady Solutions. The tint man from Dan. You've got more nicknames and and catchphrases for your business. I'm telling you, it's the best. It's the best thing. Anyway, we're going to get to that debate. We've got all the coverage, and we could talk about our local headlines too. And I feel a little bad because we didn't talk about any of the local headlines yesterday at all, because all we did was nonstop coverage. In fact, we went late. We went long yesterday too because of it. And it was fine because we're talking about good stuff. You know, it's real quality stuff, and that's fine. But I want to finish this debate stuff for us. And maybe looking back on it when I was getting ready this morning, I'm like, oh, you know what I should have did was just do a different one. I do our regular show in the morning, talk about our local stuff, and then do a separate show just recounting this stuff afterwards. Well, it's too late now, suckers. We're all the way in on this one. So let's do it. All right, so we're going to get in, and we're going to start with the second half. And this one starts with, they really start talking about unemployment, but they talk about black unemployment specifically. And you're listening to Dana Bash, who is one of the moderators, there's two, from CNN, and she's going to lead off with it. And so what we're going to do the same kind of stuff that we did yesterday, where we're going to show you the screen, we'll split back and forth, and we'll get this thing going. But I'm not going to do all the talking. I'm going to let you hear what they have to say. We're going to lead into it.
The CNN presidential debate live from Georgia. Let's talk about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs, cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
Wait. I'm just going to jump in real quick. After the debate, there was a lot of that post-debate coverage, and then you got the talking heads talking about what they thought about all of it and everything. And then they go into the spin room, which is like where they have all of their people, right? All of the Trump people, all the Biden people are in there to go and talk to the press. So like whenever you see those interviews where it's like a senator from New York who says, "Oh, I really like Biden," or, you know, whoever it is, wherever they're from, they're the ones out there saying, "Well, I think the president did a great job," you know, all that. And one of the talking points out there for people who are just fans of former President Trump, they're like, it's that mainstream media, you know, they're against him the whole time. Oh, they've been covering up all this stuff. Right? They do all that. But when you listen to some of the questions that came out in that spin room, I would hear the reporters say all kinds of stuff, like trying to paint people in a corner. Like, I got to tell you, I'm not one of those woke folks. I'm not. In fact, it kind of makes me sick, you know, like when I hear it. And I know it sounds terrible. It does. No, but I mean, like for some of it, it doesn't sound great. Like when you trip all over yourself trying to be that social justice warrior, I'm like, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit, right? But they're like, well, why don't you tell us, what is a black job? You know, I'm like, well, that's a good question because I don't know what that is. I mean, maybe I don't know. But I think what they're talking about here, they're doing their best as some 80-year-old dudes trying to talk about like one segment of the community, because the question itself is about one segment of the community. And so anyway, they're trying to pin it on the people that came out for the spin zone. Like the question came from CNN, right? They are the moderators for this. They came out with that question, and they were talking to the folks from both parties. Well, what is a black job? I'm like, all right, well, that's a good question. I think it could be any job, right? But trying to pin it on those guys, like those are the bad guys who are doing it. The question came from CNN. I mean, they need to talk about it. So explain it to us. Anyway, we got to move forward from that. Although I have a great diehard anecdote about it, but I'm going to move on. This is the response from President Biden.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that there are $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing anything, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on. But in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
All right, that was all over the place. Now, Trump doesn't get a follow-up to that because that was the follow-up to the follow-up, right? That was the follow-up to the response. Either way, he got off on all kinds of topics there at the end, and just I'm guessing the moderators are like, I think we need to move on. You think, Jake? Yeah, Dana, let's move on, because they run away from this topic right away. They're like, all right, I don't think we even liked this topic in the first place. I don't think we knew where we were coming from when we brought this up. Let's just move on and talk about the climate. Yeah, the climate. So they moved on right after that and got into the climate, what they call the climate crisis, of which I believe that was something that President Trump said was the green scam. Right. Anyway, the Trump party is going to get the first question on this one. So you're going to have Dana Bash going to come back in and talk about that, saying, hey, this was the hottest year on record, and that folks are facing all of the effects from it. You got the heat, the wildfires, stronger hurricanes, rising sea levels, cats and dogs sleeping together. No, it was Ghostbusters. Deep cut. All right, and then he said, former President Trump, you vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any actions as president to slow the climate crisis? I'll tell you, this is an interesting story because that reminds me back to when President Trump took office. And he put like some kind of a moratorium on like all kinds of stuff. I remember there was information coming off of federal government pages, right? The EPA was one of them and all that. There were all kinds of things. And then they went rogue and they posted their own stuff, like the not official EPA page, but it was really by the official EPA people because they were being told that they have to change all the information. Like it was a really big deal. And not everybody remembers this. I mean, it was literally 8 years ago when it started to happen. Well, almost 8 years ago. Let's call it 7.5. And you can't wash that away. But anyway, let's get into this part about the climate because out here, we're already seeing some of the effects of it. I don't know if it's really the effect of climate change or if it's the effect of the channel. But I can tell you that in the past 22 years that I've been here, almost 22, 21 and a half. There you go. See, I'm 21 and a half. That I've been here, I've noticed a massive change in the coastline over by Micro Beach. And everybody that I've spoken with at the beginning of it, they were saying it all had to do with when they re-dredged that channel. The channel's been there forever. So how did it just happen there? Anyway, but it's look at what's happening to the beach over there at the Hyatt, what's left of it. That whole coastline over there has just eroded back and back and back and back. There used to, where they have the restroom building now, there used to be one out there, and that fell into the sea. I mean, literally, there's pieces of it. There's a road that is off into the sea. When we used to train there in the morning sessions for the CNMI national soccer team, we would be there at 5 o'clock in the morning stretching over there, an area that is underwater now. So that coastline has changed quite a bit. Now, it's not universal all around Saipan, but it is right there. So I would say that we've experienced something, but that might be specifically because they redredged that channel, and it really, over time, has taken its toll. Anyway, let's get into it. There's island nations all around us going through some of it. So let's see what they have to say about the climate change.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges, I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. I immediately joined it, because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money, because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs, because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Yeah.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get its pollution under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people will learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
All right. Now, I want to go back on part of it, because some of it just sounded like regular Trump speak. And like, let's see if I can find it in particular. Where is it? I got to go back a little bit. Oh, there it is, to 1 minute 55. So it's like 5 minutes ago. But it's just one of the things. It's like, it's almost comical, like this part. He's like, we had the best water, we had the best air, we had it. Here, hold on, listen.
For criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know. Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've 38 seconds left, President Trump. Will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
This is the part right here.
I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy.
All right, so that's it. Sorry, my time mark I had it at 1:00:55. It was 1:01:55. But like, there. Sorry, I'm sitting here watching this. I'm like puzzled. Like, holy crap, how did I screw this up? All right, but here it is, right here. He's like, so I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. I love it.
The climate crisis.
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O.
We had H2O.
We had the best numbers ever.
The best numbers.
And we were using all forms of energy.
All forms?
All forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever.
Oh, and when did you get that?
And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
Like, it wasn't me. They're all telling me I got the best. I know, like, you're gonna say, oh, you don't like Trump or anything. I'm like, no, it's just funny listening to him. I'm telling you, like, I want absolutely clean air. I want immaculate clean water and clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. What other kind of water is there? We had H2O. I freaking love it. I'm telling you, it's just great stuff. Anyway, but like, what happened? Did it drop off? No. So what is it? Like, he said basically he's got the best. And then we get into, we already listened to, we're not going to re-listen to the whole thing from President Biden and the Paris Accords with President Trump and everything. But they end up moving on. And so we're going to do that too, because I think it's great to move on. We're going to see if we can't get through this second half a lot quicker, because this second half of the debate, the flow was so much quicker. I mean, as I'm looking at the timestamps now and everything, there's literally about 30 minutes left, 33 minutes left in the debate from this point on. So we're going to blow through it. We'll be quick. We'll be done with this part quicker than we were yesterday. And again, the topics yesterday I thought were a little bit hotter. They were a little bit more fiery, and they were just better. I mean, they were literally just better. All right. So, oh man, does this guy have other comments in our stream? I thought I deleted all these guys. This Mohammed Sharpan Sakar guy. I don't know why it's here, because I deleted it from the other one. All right. Well, I'm just going to scroll up just to see if there's any more of this guy's ridiculousness in our comments. No, it says they're all gone. Anyway, let's move on. So they're going to start talking about now Social Security, and this is their real attempt to go after the Monamco. Although the people who are, like these guys who are talking about Social Security, they're not talking about the people who are in their current tax bracket. They're not certainly as worried about Social Security as folks like me. Like, that's going to be something. That's going to be a big piece of their retirement plan. When I was doing the federal system, you've got it in different little tiers. You pay so much into your retirement so that after your federal retirement, it's about like 80% of what you were getting, and then the rest starts getting picked up by your Social Security. But you pay so much of your pay goes into your retirement, so that you almost don't feel it when you get into retirement, right? So that's it. So the Social Security thing, though, like especially for the folks who make a lot more money than the rest of us out here, they don't feel it as much. So they're going to get into that. So this is going to be it. This is going to be Jake Tapper is going to start talking about this. So let's hear what they have to say.
Pharmaceutical company cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
so every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I've been proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent, but the biggest thing will do it if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that he, I believe, supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it, because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
All right, so he's all over the place on this one, too. And then he starts getting into the veterans. And so then Biden's asked for a reply on that, and he starts talking about veterans. And now they're talking about they go back and forth on this talk about the veterans. And then they're talking about, oh, who's the worst president? Oh, I had all these people. Then they're going to move on to child care. And then Trump's going to say, oh, I had people who said that was all ridiculous. I mean, this is where the wheels start coming off a little bit, or at least where the train starts coming off the track. It gets back on later, but this is going to be off the track for a little bit. You're going to listen to them, and they're starting to spiral toward a little tit for tat, little children stuff. It's cute almost, because I hear my kids do it. It's just like that, where I got to get them back into it. And you'll hear it. You'll hear a gradual progression toward this childishness. One second.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession, and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford.
Okay, we'll get to that. But well, how about that for a last second dig? He's like, they all said that if you're reelected, then the inflation's going to go up. Also, by the way, he said, and by the way, worst president in history. The 159 presidential scholars voted you the worst president in the history of the United States of America. You're rebuttal? No, they start moving on. Like literally Jake Tapper's like, all right, thank you, President Biden. Let's talk about childcare. So Trump, great. He comes back, and after getting this question about childcare, he goes back and he's like, yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. You can't call me the worst. You can't say I'm the worst. Here it comes. And first of all, yeah, I fired that general. Let's talk about that. You ever fire anybody? This is great. It's like a perfect opportunity for him to do his catchphrase. So let's get back into where that
President
goes.
Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is,
he doesn't fire people.
He doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Okay. He just went ham on that. Hey, good morning, Glenn. Good morning, Vincent. Good to see you two this morning. Saw some of you guys pop in the comments and everything. Great to see you. We're going through our review. There's only about, at this point of the debate, there's about 25 minutes left. And so we are just cruising through this. So anyway, this is where they go tit for tat on the whole who's the worst president thing. And I'm telling you, this is really good stuff. I love it because we're getting up to like one of my favorite parts of the whole debate when they start talking about golf. We're not there yet, but we're almost there. So now they're going back and forth about who's the worst president.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We are the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President.
Wait, now, so here's the thing I take issue with. Okay, so not jumping on anybody's bandwagon, but the whole thing is like, how, as the president who's been there for 4 years, why are you saying we should instead of we did, or we're doing this we should stuff? That's not policy. You're not actually saying anything, right? When you're saying stuff like that. And when you are the president, and you have been, you're not running for office right now. You're running to keep that office. So you're not saying our initiatives will continue doing this stuff. That's actually saying that you're doing something. How are you saying we should do something? That to me just sounds so empty. They both say a lot of empty political speak, but we should, or you're not actually doing anything. In fact, when you say that, when you're 4 years deep into your presidency, you're really saying we didn't. Replace should with didn't, because that's what that is. Again, I'm not bashing our current president. I'm just highlighting what he's saying is nothing. He's not saying anything, or he's really just highlighting what he's not doing. That's it. All right. So anyway, what I'm really seeing in this whole chapter of the debate is that none of them have anything, that they don't really want to talk about childcare, because they get off and stop talking about childcare and start talking about each other as their qualifications as president. Like this one, to me, it's like they're saying they're skipping over the childcare thing. So they're like, sorry, CNN, your question doesn't really resonate with us because we're ancient. So let's move on. So you're going to get two more things here, right? They are going to talk a little bit about taxes on the middle class. Again, this is not childcare stuff. They're talking about these things. You're going to hear stuff about China and trade deficits and all that before they move on to opioids. But anyway, let's get this little tit for tat. There's a little more Trump and a little more Biden before they switch topics.
Trump, the question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you, and they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming into the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that are important. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans.
So they skip right over it. I mean, that's it. They skip right over it and jump into. They're like, all right, that's enough of that. You guys didn't want to talk about the child care stuff, so we're just gonna skip into our next topic. Next topic being opioids. Okay, so we don't get a whole lot of that here. We don't hear so much about it, but it's a big deal in the mainland. The fentanyl stuff is a real big deal in the mainland. Our big thing is crystal meth, right? I mean, ice is the thing that is killing people here. But fentanyl and opioids are doing it. So this part is really big to me. There's like a really interesting quote from Trump in his response, and it doesn't take long before he gets to it in this part. Hold on, let me get back to the main comment section so I can see it from you guys. And so Jake Tapper's going to throw out the question here about opioids, but like it's the second sentence Trump says where he's He levels a claim against Joe Biden, saying he gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with him or something. Talking about President Xi. Holy crap. It's pretty heavy. I don't know if you know about the Manchurian candidate. Interesting story. But let's listen to the question from
Have made a
Tapper.
top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
All right. Again, we're going to hear his answer, but there's not a whole lot about fentanyl and opioids in this first part of this question. Listen to him. So the question's about opioid crisis in the mainland, which is one of the topics that they're saying is really big and has been a real big topic for them. Listen to the answer.
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
And then Jake Tapper was like, oh, that's good. Hey, remember I was talking about addiction? Can we get back to that, President?
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
Man, what I hate about it, I guess, and it's not something that just hits once. I mean, it's just a growing disdain that I'm getting from these guys who just are going away from the questions all the way around, right? They're just going away from the question itself. And like, hey, we're giving you a question. And then they're just steering it right to their talking points, right? That has nothing to do with it. Anyway, Biden's got to come in a little bit closer on that, but then he's going to get back into like these drug machines that you're going to hear about in a sec.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues and said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
All right, so one more time, Jake Tapper is going to go back to President Trump and say, hey, this question is about addiction. Come on, let's talk about this. And then he comes up with a wild answer. He said, this has nothing to do with addiction, but he has a wild answer about getting a reporter out of jail in Mexico.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
That's his answer the third time that Jake Tapper asked him to talk about addiction. He's like, I'm not talking about a Jake Tapper. I'm talking about my stuff. I'm not talking about it. It reminds me of John Gonzalez in the debate in 2008 for the Washington representative position, where they asked all the different questions, and John changed all of them. So it's like the moderator was John Anderson back then, and he would ask the candidate, so Felipe Atelig, what do you think about the minimum wage in the CNMI? Well, the minimum wage, blah, blah, blah. Candidate Gonzalez, what do you think about the minimum wage? The question is, what is your favorite kind of empanada? My favorite kind of, he didn't actually say anything about empanadas, but like that's literally how he answered every question when he went in there. that was it. And that reminds me of what Trump's doing here with ask about the addictions and everything like that. He turned it into immigration and then a hostage taken, a reporter in Russia and everything. And then again, that big claim, say, hey, I'll have him out very quickly. As soon as I take office, before I take office, I said literally, as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. That to me is it's pretty interesting. And he's saying, hey, basically, hey, I get along with Putin. It's cool. We're going to be fine. And I'm going to get that guy out. As soon as that happens, I'm going to show you I'm going to be winning so much. That's it. All right, now here's a sweet spot. All right, so we're about 20 minutes left, just less than 20 minutes left of the debate itself, 18 minutes so. And so now they're going to talk about old age. Say, hey, both of you guys are not spring chickens anymore. How do you think you can do it? And so, President Biden is going to be the first one who gets the question. And it's going to be talking about, hey, you're old. In fact, your suit looks like it's sponsored by Depends Undergarments. How do you think you're going to survive your second term? You're going to be 86 by the end of it. Should we 86 you? All right, so let's get into it. Listen, Dana Bash.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you.
Sends love letters
Former
to?
President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health.
What's
I just
that
won
mean?
2 club championships, not even senior,
Wherever we may
2
have
regular
wood.
club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
Okay. This is the best. I love this because this part is where he starts getting really funny. This is where it's just 2 dudes. It's not your presidential debate anymore. This is just 2 dudes talking smack about each other. That's it. Oh, come on. Why can't I bring this screen over? I'm really just trying to bring this over. That's all right, fine. I'm out of luck. But now they're just talking about golf. He's like, we're talking about health and cognition and all this stuff. Come on, bring over here. I can't do it. I'm unable to do this. All right, so anyways, I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. And to do that, you have to be quite smart. And you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit the ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit the ball 50 yards. He's like, I'm in good shape. I feel like I'm in good shape like I was 25, 30 years ago. And then the best is I love Biden's response on some of this stuff. Hold on, let me keep going. But they're just talking about golf.
I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Right. And so this is the best part. So this is the White House doctor that gave some ridiculous amount or some ridiculous statistics for Trump when he was in office. Remember, he looked like worse shape than the lawyer character in Fear and Loathing from Las Vegas, right? I mean, it just looked like he wasn't really a doctor. He's like, he got his doctor online, like from like Joe's Medical College online. And he's like, oh, yeah, he's the fittest president in the history of presidents. So he's the greatest. Oh, he's like, no wonder why he thinks you're the best, right? Yeah, hey, that's right. Challenge accepted if you can carry your own bag. That's coming up. Oh, geez. Hobot just said there's an internet outage in Dan with IT&E. Sorry to hear it, my man, but at least you're still here. But anyway, so Biden's reply after hearing that stuff about Dr. Ronnie Jackson, he's like, yeah, you're going to see he's 6'5" and only 225. Or 235? And Trump says something. He's like, well, you said 6'4". Then this little tit for tat exchange on this. It's so petty. It's great.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200.
I never said I was 6'5".
Well, anyway, that's
I never said that.
Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6.
Now they're talking about golf scores.
But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
You can't carry your bag.
He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay, let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific.
Like, I love this. That is so great. Like, I really want to just be at their house when they're having dinner over. Like, if their kids married each other, just to see them have a regular discussion around a table would be the absolute best. Let's not be children. You're a child. 8 handicap. Yeah, I'd like to see you carry your own bag. Like Joe Biden walking off the stage, he's not carrying his own bag. You know, like, what do you challenge it? That's like me saying, yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah, I'd like to see you bench 400 pounds. I can't bench 400 pounds. Like what's going on? Like at the gym yesterday, Brock Calloway, he's like, oh, Brad's doing 225. He's like, actually, he's just doing 225s for the bench. Anyway, so that was great. I love that. It was hilarious. All right, we're cruising through now. There's only about less than 15 minutes left of the debate at this point. And some of that's going to go into like some of their closing statements and stuff like that. So before they do that, though, they start talking about the legal challenges faced by Trump. And then they're going to start talking a little bit about Russia in this one, and then talk about NATO. And they really get into NATO. This is the answer to legal challenges. So Dana Bash is going to say, hey, to you, Mr. Trump, specific concerns voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable? So they're talking about like January 6th stuff. If you lose, you're not going to pitch a fit and get all the natives restless, is basically what they're saying. And then it goes on interesting journey from there. He gets away from that to talk about Russia and NATO and all this stuff.
Concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and
Louisa, great.
You will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
Now, I'm going to stop it there because President Biden is going to reply. But that's his response to ask, hey, about the peaceful transition of power, essentially, is what it is. That is his response to that. So can you right now say that you think that political violence in all its forms is unacceptable? That's what she's saying, but she's talking about the peaceful transition of power after the election. And isn't that wild that that's what we're talking about? Like, that's where this is like crazy dystopian. But anyway, so here's President Biden. Why he doesn't follow up on this is because he's ancient, right? And he's just barely hanging on for dear life at this point. But the thing is, like, call him out on the thing. Hey, that's not the question, Jack. Come on. We're talking about transition of power. Instead, he's going to go into World War III stuff.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people. Not me, it's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
All right, so that's good stuff. But by the way, I thought that was a great first half of the debate question. We were talking about Ukraine and everything. That would have been excellent. But he's throwing that stuff in there toward the end. But, I mean, he makes great points about just a different topic, right? So Dana Bash, your moderator, tries to bring the conversation back to her question, which is about, will you accept the results of the election regardless of who wins? And, again, you're getting the same soft answer saying, no, it just depends if it's fair, right? And then they get back to it again. Look, you're literally, he's not going to talk about it. And then Bash is going to bring him back. Like, hey, look, the question was, will you accept the results? And he says, if it's fair and legal, if it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. It's not a yes. It's not a yes, and like, you can't be, if you're disappointed with the outcome of the election, that's fine. But you can't have it out there like, nope, I'm going to fight it.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia. Because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were president.
President Trump, the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over.
Burn.
Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
So, that was wild. I mean, something snapped in you when you lost the last time. You know, like once in a while, he's got these moments of clarity, and like that was real stuff. I mean, I'll tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. Like, that's funny. I would love to hear it with someone with a little bit more volition. You know, they just look at him and tell him that. And the idea, if you lose again, you're accepting anything. You can't stand the loss. Something snapped at you when you lost the last time. Like, that was, like, really good stuff. Anyway, the main thing on this one is just, again, that Joe Biden just looks terrible doing all this stuff. And Trump doesn't look great doing all this stuff either. It's more just about, like, the condition if, again, the politics aside, that which is, you know, a real big thing. Like, the bigger part is that on this one is Biden even fit to be able to run right now? And I don't think he is. I don't think he would survive it. And then if he does run, and if he were to win, then that means Kamala Harris is your next president, basically, for the next few years. And then you get a Governor Torres situation where, like, Governor Enos passes away, and then instead of a special election, it's almost like 3 terms if he would have won that last election. Anyway, at this point in the election, there's 8 minutes left. That includes the commercial break. So there's going to be a 4-minute gap that we're going to skip past, and then they hit their closing statements, and that's the end of it. And then we don't have to talk about debates anymore. Woohoo! Okay, so let's get to that. I'm going to skip forward on this and get to the closing statements from President Biden and then President Trump. Pretty cool, right? So let's get to that. Boom. I'm moving ahead. So these are the closing statements. So the first one is from President Biden. I'm just skipping ahead to get in place there. Should start right as soon as I press play. Here we go. Closing statement.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that will be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Okay, so that's the end of it. And then it's going to go over to President Trump for his final comments also. Excuse me. So Jake Tapper will give you that transition. We'll go right over to President Trump.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden.
And that was it. That's how we wrapped up.
We're live from Georgia. A key bet.
Smooth transition by yours truly. But that's it. I mean, that's how it ended up wrapping up. And that is the whole debate, right? So, and by the way, so you said this debate was Biden's request. I don't doubt it. That makes sense. So that feeds into my whole idea about this thing, is that the Biden camp knew that Joe Biden is in rough shape physically, right? And maybe mentally, but at least he might have some good spots, but he's starting to fall apart a little bit. And so let's put him in prime time at 9 o'clock and let's prep him. Let's give him everything he needs and then put him out there and let's see what happens, because right now it's early enough that if we get enough traction on it, we can replace him as our party nominee for the upcoming election. Because right now, after that performance, there's no way that an objective person could see Biden being more fit for that position. Now, politically, though, for the topics and stuff like that, it's a mix, right? So for me, I think that I like points from both of them, right? There's not a perfect candidate for me in this one. There just isn't. There's some stuff that Trump says that I really like. There's some stuff that Biden says that I really like. And then there's some stuff from both of them. It just sounds like, come on, like, what are you doing? You're a crazy man, and you're too much of a softie. Like, figure that stuff out, right? I love that stuff that we talked about yesterday, where like Trump said, "Hey, man, we'd go into that like Seattle, and we'd show them who's boss." Those guys who took over with that chop and the Chaz and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, get those guys. If that stuff was happening in Buffalo, I'd be furious, man. I don't think people in Buffalo would stand up for that. But the people in Seattle, like, they're just too far left. And it's not like being compassionate about people is not a bad thing, which is what I would normally associate with folks on the left, I guess. But they're way past it. They're like the folks who were okay with stuff that was going on in Seattle. They're way past that craziness. I mean, they really are past that craziness. Yeah, and Vice President Harris, I see events like I'm not down with her either. And again, it all comes down for my take on her, with how she totally bashed Biden in their Democratic primary. After she gets named the vice president candidate, then she comes back and is like, "Oh no, he's great. He's great." And you're like, "Well, I thought you said he was terrible." And she's like, "Hey, wow, that was just a campaign." Like, bull. You can't say that kind of stuff about a person, about them being unfit and terrible and not the right person because they don't care, and then say, nah, that's just campaign rhetoric. I don't mean that. He's great. That to me is just a person you can't trust. They're willing to say any of that kind of stuff. That's why I'm not down with her for that stuff. All right, here's what I am down with. I am down with taking a commercial break because we can. We come back, we'll get you the AP update too, but let's take a break from all this for a little bit. We'll be right back.
Is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness approve. We do what we do by the rules in the book. Be a laddie where discipline and vision is built. We lead by example, persistence to build. Be the inspiration, they witness approve. We do what we do by the rules in the book.
It's a great day to be up 3-0. I'll tell you that. It probably is not great to be down.
I'm Brad Rosala, and I'm the owner for Commonwealth Communications.
And I am Jojo Alipuzu. I am the owner of Island Image and Motion.
And this is our joint venture, Sideline Studios. This whole concept that we have of doing all these live stream productions and covering news and doing live shows and everything, it wouldn't happen if we didn't have a great partner like IT&E, someone who could handle the bandwidth and provide it and then get us what we need when we need it and then be a real partner for us for all the events, whether we're doing live sporting events, broadcasts. All of these things happen because of our partnership with IT&E.
With IT&E providing us with the fiber and point-to-point and even the MBRs, is just a great piece of equipment to use when we're broadcasting our sports, our events, our performances, especially our cultural performances. And it's just great to share our culture here in the Marianas with the world. And IT&E has been there from the get-go.
The thing I like best about working with IT&E is how willing they are to come out and find a solution. Even for Liberation Day, we thought we had a pretty good solution for our live stream setup, and it turns out that we did not have the right setup that we thought we needed. That day, just before the parade, reached out to Paul and said, here's our situation. What do you think? He's like, we're gonna figure this out. While he's sitting there barbecuing, getting ready for the parade to start, he starts burning up the phone lines, calling everybody in IT&E, what can we do, what's the right solution? They left their families to do this stuff and get us the equipment that we needed to broadcast live. That's over and above. That's on a holiday. That's when he was out there spending time with his family.
That's why IT&E is just the best, just really in touch with the people and the community.
I recommend IT&E to everybody. Tell them the options are there, and you could choose whoever you want and then figure out what you think is the best. But when you're ready, when you're tired of having your calls disconnected or not having service, then you reach out to the guys from IT&E.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. The Supreme Court's ruled former presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts, but not unofficial or private actions. Saga Magane reports the ruling extends the delay in the federal election subversion case against former President Trump.
The historic 6-3 ruling underlines what Justice Brett Kavanaugh said during April's arguments.
The president is subject to prosecution for all personal acts, just like every other American for personal acts. The question is acts taken in an official capacity.
But rather than decide how that applies to the Justice Department's case over Trump's efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss, the High Court wants a lower court to sort it out. That all but ends chances Trump could be tried before the November election. He calls it a big win for our Constitution and democracy. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who joined the other two liberals in dissenting, says the ruling makes a mockery of the principle that no man is above the law. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Steve Bannon surrendered at a federal prison in Connecticut today to begin a 4-month sentence on contempt of Congress charges for defying a subpoena in the investigation into the U.S. Capitol attack. House Republicans have filed a lawsuit against Attorney General Merrick Garland, seeking the audio recording of President Biden's interview with a special counsel in his classified documents case. Overseas, the Israeli armies ordered a mass evacuation of Palestinians from much of Gaza's second-largest city, Khan Yunis. The AP's Joe Fetterman reports it signals a likely new assault.
Israel spent several months inside Khan Yunis battling Hamas before withdrawing earlier this year. The latest order is a sign that Hamas has managed to regroup, and we could soon see Israeli forces moving back into Khan Yunis and a resumption of heavy fighting.
And victims of Hamas's October 7th attack are suing Iran, Syria, and North Korea for supporting it. This is AP News. In business news, Boeing's announced plans to acquire a key supplier, Spirit Aerosystems, for $4.7 billion, reversing a strategy of outsourcing key work on its passenger planes. It says the move will improve plane quality and safety. And Damian Troisi has the start to the week on Wall Street in the AP Markets Report.
Stocks drifted to a mixed close Monday, and bond yields jumped as elections drive swings in financial markets worldwide. The S&P 500 rose 0.3%, even as most of the stocks in the index fell. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.1%, and the Nasdaq Composite rose 0.8%. Some of the world's strongest action was in Paris, where stocks jumped after election results bolstered financial markets' hopes for a gridlocked government that won't drive up its debt. This week's highlight for economic reports will likely arrive on Friday, when the U.S. government will say how many workers got hired to payrolls during June. Damian Troisi, New York.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Bruce Morton. On Sunday, the curtain went up on NBA free agency. According to AP sources, Paul George is leaving the Clippers with all signs pointing to his signing up with the Sixers. Meanwhile, James Harden will be staying with the Clips. Chris Paul appears headed for San Antonio, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to Orlando, while Kevin Love will remain with Miami. In the WNBA, the Liberty increased its league best mark to 16-3 by topping Atlanta 81-75. Baseball, the team with the majors' top record, Philadelphia, came back to defeat Miami 7-6. The Phils are 55-29. Hockey, South Florida celebrated the Panthers' Stanley Cup title Sunday with a parade that went on despite a torrential downpour and flood warnings. NASCAR, Joey Logano drove the number 22 Team Penske Ford to an overtime victory at Nashville. Bruce Morton, AP Sports.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, did our camera freeze? It looks like it might have. See if we do one of these numbers if it makes a difference. Oh no! Gonna have to reactivate the camera. You're just watching me. I'm looking like a statue. That's what it looks like. All right, let's deactivate and reactivate. Oh, and there we go. That's what you're looking for. There's your moneymaker. Hey! Good morning, Marianas. All right, we got through a day and a half-ish of debate coverage. You survived. You survived the month of June. Now you've survived this. Back and forth, we made it somehow, some way. It is Tuesday. It's 86 degrees up there at the airport. Humidity's down at 75%, so it's feeling warm, but not too crappy. That's it. That should be our slogan right now. Hey, isolated showers throughout today, mostly sunny skies. High near 88. Winds out of the east. That's going to get up to be about maybe 11 miles per hour. Tonight's going to cool down a little bit, down to 79 degrees. Wind's going to be about the same. Tomorrow, we're looking at more of the same. Gusts as high as 20 miles per hour. And that's nothing to shake a stick at. Let's look at the forecast for the parade. Partly sunny skies, high near 88. Winds out of the east, gusts as high as 20 miles per hour. You know what you don't hear? Rain. That's I'm not a betting man, but you could almost bet with a certainty that it's going to rain on Liberation Day. It always seems to happen that way. So we'll see how it works out this year. Oh, man. Maybe it's the third cup of coffee kicking in. Maybe it's the song. I don't know, but I'm feeling it. It is Tuesday. That's right. Hey, I see you guys going back and forth in the comments. I haven't really been able to read them, but I see you guys tit for tatting them. It's great, though, that I love the healthy discussion in the comments. It is a great thing for me to see, just because it's actually people talking about it. And it's people talking about with their real names and stuff like that. It's a healthy discussion, really. It's not people hiding behind aliases and pen names and pseudonyms and all that stuff. You guys are actually having that conversation. As long as you guys are respectful, it's healthy. It is not wrong to have different opinions and different points of view on the same topics. I think that's great. I'm all about that. All about it. Anyway, I'll tell you what, though. We are going to be doing the parade. We're going to have the live parade coverage here on the NMI News Service. It's also going to broadcast on the Saipan Mayor's Office Facebook page. We made a deal with them to where we can stream directly to them and on ours. So you're going to be able to watch it. It's going to have a great reach, and we're going to have great internet connection thanks to IT&E. IT&E is going to be providing us with a direct line into their fiber network. Not wireless, not a point-to-point. No, right into the wireless. It's right into the fiber network. So we're going to have a great stream from that. So we're going to be located right on Beach Road, and we're going to be at the JP Center, right at the Saipan Tribune, right out in front. And man, I can't tell you how excited we are to do this. We're within. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about the whole impeachment stuff and everything. We got to say we're within eyes. We can eyeball the grandstand from where we're sitting. True. That you're going to be able to see from where we are. You're going to be able to see the grandstand, but we're not going to be right there, so it's not going to blow out our microphones and speakers and headphones and all that stuff, the music that's going to be playing. So, but we're going to be able to do it. We're going to be able to get the people going by, and we're going to have all that coverage. I'm going to be sitting besides the Finicisu Mestizu. LJ Castro is going to be there with me. We're going to do it right from the beginning all the way through the end. And you want to be if you're planning on going down to the parade, you want to make sure that you plan ahead of time, because the roads are going to be closed in different spots. You're not going to be able to get to where you want to get to, and you're going to want to do it early. I can tell you from experience, you want to be there early, and we're going to be there early too to make all this stuff happen, right? So let's tell you a little bit about it. So from Chaoenlalau to Quartermaster Road, that's where the roads are going to start to be closed off. And it's going to be starting at 7 o'clock. And that's for the parade lineup. So that's going to be from Quartermaster up to by National Office Supply. That's where everyone's going to line up for the parade. All the floats, all the marchers, everything. So if you think you're going to go that way, it's not going to work. All right, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. And then Beach Road from Quartermaster to Dama de Noche Street, that's totally going to be cut off. And that's like all the way up by, which street is Dama de Noche? I think that's the cross street by Mobile. That's going to be totally closed off starting at 9. So you're going to have to use those back roads to get around over there. And so also, it says motorists are asked to minimize travel along Beach Road, Chaoenlalau by AK North during that time. That's from DPS. The parade begins at 10 o'clock, and there's going to be a flyover from the Air Force to get everything all kicked off. If you got any questions about it, about the road closures or whatever, you call DPS, and you can talk to Lieutenant Smith. That's right, Dan Smith. He's an LT now. His number is 670-664-9085. That's a highway patrol section over at DPS. The guys who keeping all those marchers and parade goers safe throughout the day, DPS. You can't do a parade like this without having great coordination, and it's great. When I did it, I worked with, he wasn't acting commissioner back then, or he wasn't the commissioner back then, but Anthony Macaranos really made sure that we got everything squared away with his traffic man, Dan Smith. All right, so that's happening. That's July 4th, and we're going to cover it for you, and it's going to be a lot of fun for us. What else we got going on? We gave you the news. We gave you the sports. We gave you the weather. You know, I'll tell you what, a little bit of both. We talked about him in the Ring of Fire 2, winning the main event, Peekaboo Alvarez. That's right, Shane Alvarez. And now he just won the expert class for June 2024 for the Cowtown Race Park MRP. That's right. They call it the Moto 4 points race series that just happened over the weekend. And man, I can't believe it. You know, the guy is just crushing all kinds of sports right now. It's got to be a good life if you're Shane Peekaboo. You win the main event in the ring. Before you even get in the ring, you're rapping on your way into the ring. That's exactly what happened. I'm not kidding. He gave a performance before he came into the ring. It was crazy. I thought it was a bad move. It turned out didn't affect him. I bet he was probably a little bit tired toward the end of that fight because he was fighting a Tiger Heart from Guam, and he was great. But, man, it was just rough stuff. All right, because he ended up lasting. I can't imagine it didn't affect him toward the end. It must have, right? I mean, you got to be tired when you're doing all that kind of stuff. All right, so did you know that today is World UFO Day? World UFO Day. Okay. How about that? You know, World UFO Day, I guess that's honorary Area 51 Day. Now, so it says, I want to believe these are the words of notorious X-Files hero Fox Mulder, who would convince an entire generation that the truth is out there. We just have to find it. But on July 2nd, it won't have to be sci-fi enthusiasts trying to out their ET sleuthing skills, as everyone on planet Earth will have the opportunity to celebrate World UFO Day. Says UFOs have been the stuff of legend for centuries, but it wasn't until the 1950s that freaky flying saucers grabbed national and international mainstream attention. All right. Sure. It's fun. It's fun to talk about that stuff. I geek out on that stuff all the time. It is fun, but come on, man. Let's not get too crazy. All right. So, tonight is a big game for the Saipan Baseball League. The Cardinals and Sandlot, two of the top teams in the whole league, are going to be going head-to-head. I would have loved to have covered that game tonight. Really. We just have too much going on in NMI News Service world and Island Image and Motion world, because tonight is also the coronation for the Liberation Queens. And we're doing so many things for the mayor's office for Liberation that we just can't be everywhere. Yeah, we can be at a lot of places. We can't be everywhere, though. We could give the most limited coverage, but here's the other thing that's happening tonight. The VFW in Saipan at 6 o'clock, the Army Rock and Roll Band is coming to Saipan, and they're performing tonight at the VFW Saipan Post 3457. You do not need to be a member to go and have a few beers or drinks of your choice, or maybe it's just water, at VFW tonight and watch the Army Rock Band. It's early. This is your happy hour thing tonight. You should go and check out this band because, you know, bands don't usually start at 6 o'clock. There is a live band tonight at VFW that you do not want to miss. I'm telling you, this Army Rock Band, they're going to be awesome. Coordinating this with the director for the Commonwealth Bureau of Military Affairs, Danny Aquino, and that is awesome. It is going to be great. The rock band. I saw them perform at the University of Guam Fieldhouse. These guys are good. I mean, and it's not guys, it's guys and girls, men and women part of this. They are awesome. I mean, they literally can rock. They hit all the top stuff, great stuff, and you'll be missing out. Go check them out. It's going to be 6 o'clock at the VFW. This is the second floor, you know, in the building right next door to Godfather's. It's in that little party area where you got Cheers, Safe House, Johnny's, Godfather's. The next building over on the second floor, the one with all the service flags, that is the VFW. No, you do not need to be a member to be there. Anybody can go there. Any night, you can go there and enjoy it. You can light up a cigar, you can vape, light up your cigarette because it's an open air bar. You can't do it right sitting at the bar, blowing smoke at the bartenders. No, but it's a big open air place that you can smoke and do all that other stuff if you want to. If you're not a smoker, I'm not, then you don't have to worry about getting all smoked out because it's all open air. It just blows out of there. The cool thing is there's a ton of cigars there right now, and they're free. Yes, they're free. A retired USARPAC commander, Reginald Neal, Brigadier General Reginald Neal, he donated a whole bunch of cigars to our post, along with the humidors and the cutters, and I don't know if there's any torches there anymore. You got to bring probably your own lighter, but that's about it, and it's great. So go out there and enjoy a great cigar on General Neal while you're there, and you can enjoy, again, it's so cool that this Army rock band is coming to Saipan, and they're going to perform. It's free. You just go there at 6 o'clock, have a few pops after work tonight, and watch this band. It's going to be great. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. It's really going to be awesome. That's at 6 o'clock tonight. All right, what else do we got left? Can we get to before today's over? Man, we're gonna find out some more things about. We're gonna find out some more things about what's happening with all of these cases today. We're gonna be at court today to find out some stuff this afternoon. I'm looking forward to it. I don't even know what it's about, but I got a little tip saying, "Hey, you should be here today at this time." So I'm going. All right, but I will say this. I want to give a little bit of props to my colleagues out there who are doing a great job. And, man, I'm so happy I get to go and work with these guys just in the field. If there's a different event happening, Julian Assange stuff coming through, all the major things, press conferences, you name it. It's finally here. Way back in the day, they were saying that we needed to do this. And finally, we got it together. And by we, I mean really these guys. I'm just a beneficiary. I didn't do any of this planning. All I did was sign up and join. It's the Society of Professional Journalists, the CNMI chapter. It hasn't been around in decades, but Tomas Manglonia, Brian Manabat, and Kim put it together. And they are also our officers. So Tomas is the president, and Kimberly Asmoras is the vice president, and Brian Manabat, he is the treasurer and secretary. And they are the leadership now for this. And the Society of Professional Journalists, again, they're back and from outer space. And it includes folks from KSPN2, KUAM, the Marianas Variety, the Saipan Tribune, and us at the NMI News Service. That's right. We are part of the CNMI chapter for the Society for Professional Journalists. And it's really great. So it's great because just having everybody together in some kind of a organization is good. Because, you know, what happened years ago is I remember the Variety was getting iced out of covering things because they didn't like the reporter or they didn't like that they weren't pro-administration. This is not recently. I mean, this is years ago. And what all of the journalists should have done is if you're not going to invite the Variety, then we're not going. We're not going to cover your stuff. And that's how that should work, because you should not be able to single out one legitimate member of the media because they're not giving you a good run, right? So this is an opportunity for all the reporters out here to get together and hopefully work on things. Now, there's going to part of their plan is to have some professional development training, which is sorely needed for sure, right? And you know, and a little sense of camaraderie, right? Improving skills and improving the dissemination of information. It's all great. So kudos to you guys for getting this thing started. I'm so glad to be a part of it, and so glad that you guys got it together. All right. Well, we got everything together. I am going to head over after the show today. We have a pre-arrival meeting for a couple of ships that are coming in tomorrow. And we can tell you about it because we already know it. And they're coming in tomorrow, so it's nothing crazy. We're going to have the return of the USS Peralta. That's right. The destroyer that was just here, they're back. They said they were possibly coming back. Well, they definitely are now, and we can't wait. Also, in fact, that's going to be awesome when they do get in here. Also, the U.S. Coast Guard has a ship coming in here. In fact, you know what? I didn't look up what kind of ship it is, but I'll do it right now. I know for sure it's the Oliver Henry ship. Is it a cutter? It is home ported in Guam, and it's the CGC Coast Guard cutter. I'm guessing that's what that stands for. Let me find out when I open up the link here. Come on. It's the U.S. Coast Guard cutter. And they're coming in here. They're home ported in Guam. And we're looking forward to having them come in. And they're going to be having tours. In fact, they reached out to us asking if people want to take a tour. So if you want to take a tour of the ship, you can reach out to me if you want to. But you're going to be able to just go to the pier and be able to do that. They're specifically they're targeting having people come in and do a tour on the 4th. So in the afternoon, after the parade and everything, they want to open up their Coast Guard cutter for tours. And I think that's awesome. You should absolutely take advantage of it for a couple of reasons. One, you want to encourage them to keep coming back and taking the trip up here and visiting the CNMI, because it's good for us, when they come over. And there's going to be about 20 of them coming over with it. But you want them to feel welcome. They're home ported in Guam, but get out of those waters and come up here. And this is part of your coverage area too, right? So come on up here, feel welcome, spend some money up here, and let the folks get to know you. Coast Guard's got such a great mission. I absolutely love them. I love that they come out here and really want to support them for sure. So go out and do that. All right, so that's what's happening. We're going to that meeting after this. And, Lenny, congratulations on landing the spot as the new director for the museum. Lenny Leon, man, it's great. Great dude. Love that guy. I coach his son for soccer, and he's such a sharp kid, man. I'm telling you. A great kid and a guy who really cares about our culture and everything. He's going to do a great job for the CNMI for sure. All right, well, that's what we got for you guys today. Wow, that's louder than I thought. I want to say thanks to you guys for tuning in again. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. And tomorrow's also the day we're going to have the live stream with candidate Probst. That'll be on. I'm not sure if we're going to hit that part in the morning or the afternoon. But either way, we're still going to have our show in the morning. And then we'll do the other one as a standalone. So that's what we've got. Again, tonight, 6 o'clock, come to the VFW. The Army Rock Band is happening. We'll see you guys there tonight.
Good morning,
and we'll see you tomorrow.
Marianas.
Good luck at baseball tonight, fellas.
Happy day, Tirawami and greetings to Rhoda, Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. For all your island news from a beautiful place with Pacific views. It's always so much fun on Good Morning, Marianas.
My package. Oh, went to counter San Francisco. Where'd you leave my order from Walmart and Amazon? Can't believe it's gone. Hopefully not forever. Sorting center. I've been waiting for months and some days. Tracking numbers, just a fancy phrase. The USPS forgot about us in the Marianas, like my Walmart package. I'm broken inside. Lost Amazon package. Where'd you go? Can't find my boxes, feeling so low. The Saipan boys' dreams, they're fading away. Lost in the bay, San Francisco. Where are those boxes of mine from Amazon Prime? I stood in line at the post office and there was no notice. My box is empty and my heart is full of tears. We got no Macy's, okay, not inside Pantene and Luta. We can no longer fly to Guam, cause the price for one is an eldest son. Oh, united, why you want to keep us divided? Lost Amazon package, where'd you go? Can't find my boxes, feeling so low. The Saipan boys' dreams, they're fading away. Lost in the bay, oh USPS, he used to be the best, bringing us our treasure chest. Then one day, everything was held up in Richmond, California. We all said line it, half a Malaya. Then days were clear, our package is finally here. We couldn't believe it, no more selling kidneys for a Guam ticket. Then dreams crushed again, stuck in San Francisco. Dreams that faded away, lost in the bay. I've been waiting for months and some days. Tracking numbers just a fancy phrase. USPS forgot about us in the Marianas. Like my Walmart package, I'm broken inside. Broken inside. The Saipan boys' dreams that faded away, lost in the bay. My heart is lost, maybe one day we'll have a Ross. Maybe one day we'll have a Ross. Oh, we'll have a Ross.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. President Biden is planning to speak shortly on a Supreme Court ruling involving his predecessor. Mark Sherman has details.
The Supreme Court ruled former presidents can be immune from prosecution for acts they took while in office. But in the case of former President Trump, it is leaving to a lower court to decide whether he can be prosecuted on charges he conspired to overturn the 2020 election. The outcome makes it unlikely that a trial could be held before the November election.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer is insisting President Biden can still win her state, as many Democrats question his candidacy after a shaky debate performance last week. Ed Donahue has the latest.
Whitmer says she is 100% behind the president. The statement comes after Politico reported Whitmer called Biden campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon the day after the debate. It cited a source who said Whitmer declared Michigan was no longer winnable for the president. An aide to the governor says the reported comment was false. In her statement, Whitmer says not only does she believe Biden can win Michigan, she knows he can because he's got the receipts and is committed to restoring the reproductive freedom women lost under Donald Trump. I'm Ed Donahue.
The Israeli army's ordered Palestinians to evacuate Gaza's second-largest city, Khan Yunis, signaling a new assault is likely. Hurricane Beryl's reached Category 4 strength and is being felt across the southeast Caribbean. National Hurricane Center Director Michael Brennan.
We are seeing reports already of widespread power outages, wind damage occurring in some of the Windward Islands now. Again, heavy rainfall, flash flooding are also possible in these areas. And downstream later this week, we could again see impacts in Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, and elsewhere in the northwestern Caribbean.
Mixed close on Wall Street. The S&P rose 0.3%, but most of the stocks in the index fell. The Dow added 0.1%, the Nasdaq 0.8%. This is AP News. The latest on a murder case against a Boston police officer's girlfriend. Jackie Quinn has the story.
A Massachusetts jury was unable to reach a verdict in the second-degree murder case against Karen Reed, accused of running down her boyfriend with an SUV. The Boston area judge declared a mistrial after jurors sent another note they were hopelessly deadlocked, as they were last week. Reed's lawyer back in April told the jury she wasn't responsible for Boston police officer John O'Keefe's death.
Her car never struck John O'Keefe. She did not cause his death.
After he was found outdoors unresponsive in January 2022.
Karen Reed was framed.
The defense suggested another officer had killed O'Keefe at a gathering at a home in Canton and planted evidence to make it look like Reed was guilty. I'm Jackie Quinn.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
Good morning, Marianas. So many things we gotta discuss. Happy day, Tirawamian greetings to Rhoda, Guam, Saipan, and Tinian. For all your island news from a beautiful place with Pacific views. It's always so much fun on Good Morning, Mariana.